Hi, welcome back to Wallflowers. Now, there's something circulating at the moment, and I think many of you might have already seen it. It's a prophecy, an old one, from a Catholic saint named Padre Pio. And the reason it's spreading so quickly right now is because of what it describes and how closely it seems to mirror this particular moment in history. I want to talk about that today, but I also want to go a bit further because whether you follow the prophecy or not, whether you're religious or not, what it calls for is something I think every household would be wise to consider right now. So stay with me, because by the end of today, I'm going to show you something practical and genuinely simple, something almost anyone can do, whatever the budget. So let me start with something I've been noticing. There's a shift happening, not dramatic, not loud, quiet. And it's happening in living rooms just like ours all across the UK. People are thinking differently, asking questions that perhaps they weren't asking a year ago. Questions like, what would we do if the power went out for a few days? And if the shops were disrupted? If we simply couldn't get out? And I don't say that to worry anyone. I say it because it's a question worth asking. Historically, people always kept things by. Our grandparents and great-grandparents understood the wisdom of a full larder. Somewhere along the way, excuse me, we forgot that. And I think a great many of us are beginning to remember. Now, the Padre Pio prophecy, I'm going to be straightforward with you here. I'm not going to tell you to believe, you have to believe about it. That's not my place. What I will say is this: it is being shared widely, and many people I know that I respect are taking it seriously. The prophecy speaks of a period of darkness, 3 days, during which people are advised to stay indoors, keep candles lit, and have their household provisions in order. There are mentions of prayer, of inner stillness, of not opening the door regardless of what you hear outside. There's also a very similar account associated with Saint Faustina, the Polish mystic. And within that tradition, what is described is less about a punishment and more a mercy, a reset, if you will. Now, I want to think about that because I know that for some of you, this is deeply meaningful, and for others, it might sound quite unfamiliar, but both are welcome here. What I find interesting, truly interesting, is this: the practical response is identical, whether you're responding to a prophecy, a power outage, a severe weather event, or simply the general uncertainty of the times we're living in. The wisdom is the same, and I think that's worth thinking about for a moment. So what do we actually do with all of this? Because here is what I have observed. Across history, across different traditions, different cultures, different belief systems, when times feel uncertain, the wisest response has never been panic. It's always been preparation, quiet, practical, faithful preparation. The Stoics spoke about it. The monastic traditions lived it, and your grandmother probably practiced it every single day without giving it a name. She simply kept a good larder. And that is really what today is about. Not fear, but readiness. So let's talk about what that actually looks like practically in a frugal household. The first thing the prophecy mentions, and the first thing that goes in any power disruption, is light. Now, Candles are inexpensive and they last. I personally keep a good supply, nothing fancy, plain household candles, stored safely away from anything flammable. I'll link what I use down in the description on my Amazon storefront. Also, a wind up solar LED torch is essential. And I'd strongly recommend one that doesn't rely on batteries because you might not have them to hand. Again, very reasonably priced, and I'll link that one in the storefront too. The question to ask yourself is a simple one. If the power went out tonight, could you light your home safely? If that answer is no, then it's an easy fix. And it doesn't need to cost very much at all. Warmth is the next subject. In the UK, a power outage in the wrong season means no central heating. So think about what you have. Extra blankets, layering, a hot water bottle that could be filled from water you've boiled on the gas hob if needed. A thermal blanket, the kind you buy, doesn't have to be expensive. Takes up almost no space and is genuinely worth having. And here's the thing nobody really talks about when it comes to putting things by. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it absolutely does not have to be expensive. Think about what your household actually eats, and think about a week's worth of that in a form that doesn't need refrigerating. For us, that looks like oat, rice, lentils and pulses, tinned goods, UHT milk, pasta and flour. Things we would use anyway. Things that cost very little, especially from the food initiatives and the discount stores where I shop. I keep mine in airtight containers, properly labelled. A vacuum sealer is a wonderful investment if you want to extend the shelf life further. Mine's in the description in the storefront. The goal is a week's worth of provisions, not a bunker, just a sensible larder kept topped up. Our grandmothers would have thought absolutely nothing of it. Water's the one people forget. We assume that taps will always work. And they probably will. But a few large containers of clean water set aside, enough for drinking and basic cooking for a few days, is simply wise housekeeping. You can invest in a water filter. I've got a Berkey and it's in the storefront. It's a good option, but even filling a few large bottles cost absolutely nothing at all. A few more things worth thinking about. Documents. Keep copies of important paperwork somewhere easy to find. Passports, medical records, insurance documents. A fireproof document wallet is ideal. It's not expensive and it's worth every penny. Medications. If anyone in your household takes regular medication, think about whether you have a small buffer. Try speaking to the doctor. Try seeing if you can get any extra. And communication. A battery or a wind-up radio is genuinely useful for, say, the internet or the phone signals were disrupted. Old-fashioned, I know, but reliable and very inexpensive. Now, I want to say something that might sound a little different. All the practical things matter. They do. The candles, the provisions, the water, they truly do. But I've come to believe that the most important kind of readiness is not in the larder, it's in here. Whatever your faith or no faith, there's something to be said for cultivating a sense of stillness, of not being moved by panic, of knowing whatever comes, that you've done what you can, that your household is cared for, and that you're not alone. I think that's actually what the spiritual traditions are pointing to. Not fear, peace. A quiet, rooted peace that isn't dependent on circumstances. That's the kind of readiness I aspire to. And I think it's the most frugal resource of all because it costs nothing. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Whether you come to this video because of Padre Pio prophecy, or because of power cuts, or simply the cost of living is pressing in and you want to feel more settled and more prepared at home, I hope something here has been useful to you. Because I think what all of this is telling us, the prophecy, the history, the practical wisdom of every generation before us, is the same thing. Look after your household, keep things by, stay calm, and look out for your neighbours, and do not be afraid. Now, all of the links I've mentioned today, the torch, the candles, the theme blanket, the vacuum sealer, the water filter, and the fireproof wallet, are all down in my Amazon storefront, which is listed in the description. And if today's video has been helpful, I'd also appreciate it if you could share it with someone. It might be useful for them too. And that genuinely means the world to this little channel. If you'd like to support the channel directly, there's a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee page. Every single contribution helps me to make more of these videos for you. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you been putting things by? Have you seen the Padre Pio video that's been circulating? What are your thoughts on it? Tell me down in the comments. I genuinely read every single one, and I love hearing from all of this community. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please take care. Remember you're loved, and the world is a better place with you in it. Bye, love.